So in this video, we're going to be looking at prompt templates in LangchainGo, prompt templates, and specifically string templates. Now, prompt templates, like I mentioned in the components video, they are a way for us to create reusable prompts. So we have these functions or factories that generate standard prompts for us. And one of those standard prompts is string prompt. So we create a template and we put that template in a factory or a function that we can then pass variables into, and it will generate a standard template for us. But let us look at a more interactive description. Now, think of your prompt template like a function. So think of it like a function, and that function has arguments. And what that function is supposed to do is to return a string. But this time a templated string. So you have the string, and it can be a greeting template. Let's say the template is a greeting template. So it says, hello, how are you? And yeah, it has, let's say, B here. So B is here. And instead of saying hello, we can say A. So A, how are you, B? It takes this in. Get into this. It takes this in, and we can just close the function down here. Now, these are called input variables. These are input variables. This is the template string, and this is the template that returns it. These are our prompt template. So our prompt template returns a formatted template to us, taking into account these input variables. Now, these input variables, we can say A is greeting type. So instead of A, we say greeting type, or say greet type, just to save space. Greet type, and B will be name. So instead of A, we have greet type, and instead of B, we have name. So when a user is using this function, or when we are using this function, we can say, yeah, let's say this function is, let's call it greet. So the name of our template is greet. So we can then take this template and say greet. The greeting type will say is hello. And the name of the person we want to greet is John. And when this template is called, it is going to return, hello, how are you, John? Hello, how are you, John? So that's basically how a prompt template operates. You create a template that takes in some input variables, and then inside your template, you have a string that structures your template. A string that defines the structure of your template. And that string can take in dynamic variables, which are your input variables. Dynamic variables. All other stuff within your strings are constant. So can take in the dynamic variables, and when you need it, you call it, and it will generate the standard structure that you want. This is a standard greeting structure, and our template is able to generate it. So these are how prompt templates work. And what you're seeing here is a string prompt template, because it outputs a string. It outputs a standard string prompt. Now, let us look at the components, because they're also going to represent what we're going to be seeing in our template. So like we said, first we have the template string. So that's the first component. Let me take this lasso tool. So we have the template string. That's the first component in your prompt template, the template string. It defines the structure of your template. Then we have input variables. Now your input variables are going to be passed into your prompt template as a slice of variable names. So, for example, greet type is a variable name. Name is a variable name. So you're just going to pass it into your prompt template constructor as a slice of variables. Then when you want to call your template, you're going to pass in the values for your input variables. You're going to pass in the values for your input variables. And these are going to be passed in as a map. They're going to be passed in as a map where the keys are strings and the values are of any type. So for example, greet type is going to be the string key. Hello is going to be the value. Name is going to be the string key. John is going to be the value. So these values could as well be numbers, they can be slices, and they can be maps themselves. And at the end of the day, you're going to have this generated. This is what is called your output. This is your output. Your template is going to format your string prompt templates with the input variables and it's going to generate an output. Now let's go back to this template string. Now, Go natively, or LangChaingo natively uses Go's native text template formatting architecture. So you can just use that, and when you're inputting your variables, you can have them look like this. So for this, we'll say double curly braces and dot. Double curly braces. So this would also be double curly brace, dot, double curly brace, which is how the native formatting, string formatting architecture in LangChaingo works. But you can also use Ginger templates. And you can use F strings also. But the default is Go's text template formatting. So yeah, that is how prompt templates work. But now we're going to go into Visual Studio Code so that we can actually see them in action. Back in Visual Studio Code, we still have our previous example open. So let's just clear that out. Let's close the command line. Now I'm going to come to this file and I'm going to delete everything here. For the previous example, that's our first app. Going to save so that it clears all dependencies. So all the imports are gone. It's good. And now we have a clean main.go file. And like I said, this is where we're going to be running all our examples from. We're going to be creating our examples or our demos in different files. Then we're going to be importing them in here or bringing them in here as functions and running them. So I'm going to create a new file and call it O201, which is the name of this video. Then dash string templates dot go. String templates.go, which is good. I'm going to make it to also be of the main package. I'm going to name this function string prompt templates. It's good. And here in main.go, I'm just going to call string. Let me just copy that. I'm going to call the string prompt templates function. Yeah, that'll be our first example from O201. O201. So that's good. Now we can write our example here. Now what we want to do here is simply create a new string prompt and format it so that we can see the output. We want to create a new string prompt template, then we format it with some input variables and get an output. Now, one thing to note is that your string templates can have or not have input variables. Typically, most of them are going to have input variables, but I'm just letting you know that they can actually do without input variables. But let's go ahead to write in one. Now, to work with string prompt templates, you first have to import the prompt package. So I'm going to do this. And we have to go to our LangChain Go library, tmc/langchaingo, and bring in our prompts package. Yeah, that is where all the classes for prompt templates are located. Prompts. So we have that, and we're going to create a simple basic prompt. Just simple prompt. And what this prompt is going to do is going to say, write a type of content about a type of topic, or write a type of content about a type of subject. That's just what we want. We want to be a standard template that we can tell it to write, let's say, a poem about a cat, a story about a dog, a news article about politics, and anything like that. So that's what we want it to do. So I'm going to say simple template We're going to say prompts, and we're going to call the new prompt template type. And the first thing we're going to give it is our string template. We're first going to give it our string template. So we'll say write then I'm going to introduce a dynamic variable that we'll call content type. I'll say about subject. So write a content type about subject. So like I said, it can be write a story about dogs. And the next thing we need to pass here is our slice of input variables. We have to tell it that we're passing in these input variables, even though they are already there in our template string. So I'm going to create a new slice, and it will be a slice of strings. It has to be a slice of strings because our input variables are represented as string names. The first is content type. And the second is subject. You can pull our trailing comma here. So I'm going to save this. And we have our string template. Yeah, this is our template. We have it. It's good to go. It's nice. Everything is all good. Now, let's check which error is coming out here. Error while importing. Yeah, this is just some funny Golang errors that will clear out soon. So let's just continue. Now that we have our template, let us format it by passing in our input and let's see what we get. So I'm going to come down here and create a new variable. I'm going to call it template input. And template input is going to be set to a map. Like I told you, you have to pass in the input as a map. It will be a map with string keys and any value. So these string keys represent the input variables, the string input variables, and any just means that we can pass any value to any of these keys. So the first is going to be content type, content underscore type. And that will be set to, let's say, poem. We want to write a poem about cats. So say content type, poem, cats, our subject, content type, poem, and our subject will be cats. Yeah, sorry about that. Content type, poem, our subject is going to be cats. So we want to write a poem about cats. So with that in place, we can then scroll down and format. We can format our prompt. So I'm going to say simple prompt, create a new variable called simple prompt. Or rather, let's start from right to left. I'm going to call my simple template. And as a template, I can call the format function on it. Call format. And for format, it just needs to take in the template input. So copy the template input and pass it to it. Now this is going to return two items. The formatted prompt, which I'm going to be putting in a variable called simple prompt, and an error object. Those are the two items that is going to return. So the format function returns your formatted prompt and an error object. I don't want to check for this error, so I'm just going to silence it. And I'm just simply going to come down here, call fmt.println, and we're just going to print our simple prompt. And because I use fmt here, auto import has automatically brought this in. So we have this in place. And here we're not using any LLM, so you don't need to actually have any key in your environment to run this code. Let's go ahead and run this code, even though we still have this funny error here. Let's scroll down, pull up our command line. Now I'm working with these two files, main.go and o2 string templates.go. So we need to run both of them together. So I'll say go run main.go and also o2 string templates.go. We'll most likely get an error. Yeah, we're still getting an error for the module. First, let me go back and check if I'm importing the right module. So I believe this is correct. So let's try and run go mod tidy once again. I'm importing the right package. And now we can run our files once again. So go run main.go, then o201 string templates. Yeah, we get our formatted response. Write a poem about cats. Write a poem about cats. We have been able to take our string template, pass it a couple of inputs representing the inputs expected by our template string, and formatted it to give us our response. It says write a poem about cats. Let me just clear the command line and run that again so you can see clearly. See, write a poem about cats. How awesome is that? The next video, we're going to be looking at another strategy that we can use to define our prompt templates. See you there.